You wake up, you make your coffee, it all feels like it's coming from one central command center, a single, unified you calling the shots. But what if your skull is actually a locked room, and you aren't the only one inside? What if there are two completely separate minds living in the dark, sharing a body? Doctors stumbled onto this biological reality entirely by accident during a last-ditch effort to solve a medical crisis. That deep-seated feeling of being a single person is a fragile biological illusion, and it only takes a surgeon's scalpel to break it. In the mid-20th century, neurosurgeons were desperate to help patients suffering from debilitating epileptic seizures. The electrical storms in their brains were so intense, they destroyed the patient's quality of life. To stop the chaos, doctors devised a radical surgery, a corpus callosotomy. They sliced through the corpus callosum, the neural bridge connecting the two halves of the brain. The hack worked, successfully trapping the electrical seizures on just one side. When these patients woke up, they appeared entirely normal. They walked, talked, and performed complex tasks, initially fooling their doctors into thinking the surgery had no side effects at all. But by curing the epilepsy, the surgeons had physically severed the communication lines of the mind. By destroying that physical bridge, medical science had created a person whose two brain hemispheres were now forced to operate in total isolation. To understand the fallout, look at how the body is cross-wired. The left hemisphere controls the right hand. The silent right brain controls the left. Normally, they coordinate through the corpus callosum. Without it, the isolated hemispheres can no longer communicate their intentions. This leads to alien hand syndrome, where the hands begin to act at absolute cross-purposes, driven by two separate wills that can't communicate. Medical literature describes patients struggling to get dressed because while one hand pulled their trousers up, the other hand was furiously pulling them back down. In another case, a patient reached out with her right hand to embrace her spouse, while her left hand aggressively shoved him away. Because the right hemisphere cannot produce speech, it uses the left hand as its only physical outlet to express distinct, often contradictory desires. The human body becomes a literal battlefield, a single skeleton fought over by two independent processing units that can no longer speak to one another. In the 1960s, neuroscientists like Roger Sperry began conducting groundbreaking experiments to find out exactly what happens when the hemispheres are isolated. In a famous test, researchers flashed a chicken claw exclusively to the speaking left brain and a snow scene to the silent right brain. When asked to pick related images, the right hand pointed to a chicken, while the left hand pointed to a snow shovel. Michael Gazzaniga then asked the patient's speaking left brain why the left hand had chosen the shovel. Because the brain was split, the left hemisphere had never seen the snow. The left brain didn't admit it didn't know. Instead, it fabricated a story, claiming the shovel was needed to clean out the chicken shed. This revealed a module Gazzaniga called the left brain interpreter, a system that constantly observes our behavior and invents logical post hoc explanations for actions it didn't actually choose. These results suggest that our conscious verbal self might function less like an executive commander and more like a public relations agent, spinning narratives to explain a fractured biological reality. This storytelling interpreter isn't just a byproduct of surgery, it is actively running in your head right now. Split brain research indicates our feeling of a unified reality is a continuous, retroactive effort to force harmony onto millions of independent, non-conscious biological processes. Think about your own unexplainable impulses, sudden emotional shifts, or the times you found yourself doing something without knowing why. When you make a choice, is it really you deciding, or are you just narrating the actions of the silent stranger living in your head? Hit subscribe to continue exploring the hidden machinery of the human mind. There is much more to uncover.